Not that. No matter what. But when she came back from D-Land, Harlan Cottery, our nearest neighbor, carried her most of the way in his Ford, leaving her to walk the last 2 miles, and Henry begged her to leave off so we can just be a family again. She lost her temper, struck him across the mouth, and told him to stop begging like a dog. Your father's infected you with his timidity. Worse, he's infected you with his greed. As though she were innocent of that sin. The lawyer assures me the land is mine to do with as I wish, and I'm going to sell it. As for the 2 of you, you can sit here and smell roasting hogs together and cook your own meals and make your own beds. You, my son, can plow all the day and read his everlasting books all night. They've done him little good, but you may get on better. Who knows? Mama, that's not fair. She looked at her son as a woman might look at a strange man who had presumed to touch her arm. And how my heart rejoiced when I saw him looking back just as coldly. You can go to the devil, both of you. As for me, I'm going to Omaha and opening a dress shop. That's my idea of fair. This conversation took place in the dusty dooryard between the house and the barn, and her idea of fair was the last word. She marched across the yard, raising dust with her dainty town shoes, went into the house, and slammed the door. Henry turned to look at me. There was blood at the corner of his mouth and his lower lip was swelling. The rage in his eyes was of the raw, pure sort that only adolescents can feel. It is rage that doesn't count the cost. He nodded his head. I nodded back, just as gravely, but inside the conniving man was grinning. That slap was her death warrant. 2 days later, when Henry came to me in the new corn, I saw he had weakened again. I wasn't dismayed or surprised. The years between childhood and adulthood are gusty years, and those living through them spin like the weathercocks some farmers in the Midwest used to put atop their grain silos. We can't, he said. Papa, she's in error. And Shannon says those who die in error go to hell. Goddamn the Methodist Church and Methodist Youth Fellowship, I thought. But the conniving man only smiled. For the next 10 minutes we talked theology in the green corn while early summer clouds, the best clouds, the ones that float like schooners, sailed slowly above us, trailing their shadows like wakes. I explained to him that, quite the opposite of sending Arlette to hell, we would be sending her to heaven. For, I said, a murdered man or woman dies not in God's time but in man's. He, or she, is cut short before he, or she, can atone for sin, and so all errors must be forgiven. When you think of it that way, every murderer is a gate of heaven. But what about us, Papa? Wouldn't we go to hell? I gestured to the fields, brave with new growth. How can you say so, when you see heaven all around us? Yet she means to drive us away from it as surely as the angel with the flaming sword drove Adam and Eve from the garden. He gazed at me, troubled. Dark. I hated to darken my son in such a way, yet part of me believed then and believes still that it was not I who did it to him, but she. And think, I said. If she goes to Omaha, she'll dig herself an even deeper pit in Sheol. If she takes you, you'll become a city boy. I never will. He cried this so loudly that crows took wing from the fence line and swirled away into the blue sky like charred paper. You're young and you will, I said. You'll forget all this. You'll learn city ways. And begin digging your own pit. If he had returned by saying that murderers had no hope of joining their victims in heaven, I might have been stumped. But either his theology did not stretch so far or he didn't want to consider such things. And is there hell, or do we make our own on earth? When I consider the last 8 years of my life, I plumb for the latter. How? He asked. When? I told him. And we can go on living hereafter? I said we could. And it won't hurt her? No, I said. It will be quick.